Does life have meaning without death? What gives life its meaning? Is it love? Is it knowledge? Is it happiness, freedom, or the pursuit of truth? Now imagine this. Every human being suddenly becomes immortal. Death is no longer part of existence. We live endlessly, without decay, without loss. Would that be heaven, or would it be something else entirely? This is the question we explore today. Does life have meaning without death? The awareness of death creates urgency. Without it, every choice could be postponed indefinitely. Consider this: if you knew you could live for 10,000 years, would you start learning to paint now, or in the year 8,000? Would falling in love matter as much, knowing you had forever to find someone? Philosophers like Martin Heidegger insisted that death is not a side detail, it is central. In his book Being in Time, he argued that humans live authentically only when they face death. By ignoring mortality, we slip into distraction, living shallowly as if life were endless. But when we confront death, suddenly each moment becomes real, finite, irreplaceable. Life without death, then, might be life without depth. The existentialists push this further. Jean-Paul Sartre believed our freedom comes from scarcity. Because our time is short, our choices matter. If time were infinite, each choice would dissolve into irrelevance. Albert Camus saw life as absurd. We seek meaning in a universe that offers none. And yet, Camus argued, the absurdity becomes beautiful precisely because life ends. To rebel against death's finality, we must embrace life's temporary joys. Camus famously wrote, "Come to terms with death. Thereafter, anything is possible. Without death, what would be possible? Perhaps too much. Perhaps everything, and therefore nothing." Different traditions interpret death in unique ways. Christianity frames life as a preparation for eternity. Without death, this journey collapses. If no one ever dies, the moral urgency of life, the idea of salvation, heaven, or judgment, loses its foundation. Buddhism teaches impermanence, anicca. Everything changes, everything fades. Death is simply the ultimate reminder of that truth. If nothing ever perished, Buddhism would argue, suffering would intensify, for clinging would never meet release. Hinduism sees death as transition, a cycle of rebirth. Without death, the wheel of samsara would stop turning, and the path to liberation, moksha, would be broken. Stoicism gave us memento mori. Remember, you must die. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca both wrote that by meditating on death, we learn how to live. For them, death is not an enemy but a teacher. Without death, their entire philosophy collapses. Across traditions, death is not an accident, it is the framework. Let's imagine what immortality might actually look like. Infinite time, finite passion. At first, we might rejoice, endless years to travel, to learn languages, to master arts. But how long until novelty fades? Philosopher Bernard Williams, in his essay The Micropulos Case, argued that immortality would eventually become unbearable. After centuries, every desire would be fulfilled. Every flavor tasted. Every passion exhausted. Life would not just grow dull, it might grow meaningless. Eternal love or eternal stagnation? Love is intense because it risks loss. Imagine loving someone forever, knowing they will never leave, never die. Would love remain passionate, or would it dissolve into monotony? Part of what makes love burn brightly is the shadow of death, the knowledge that time is short. Eternal achievement. Without death, we could always postpone greatness. No book needs to be written today. No painting finished. No discovery made. But then, would anything ever be done? Immortality might lead not to flourishing, but to infinite procrastination. Here lies the paradox. Death ends everything. And yet death gives value to everything. If diamonds were as common as sand, would we still treasure them? If life stretched into infinity, would we still treasure a single day? In this way, death functions like scarcity in economics. It creates value. Life is precious because it cannot be repeated. Every moment is a rare jewel. Of course, not everyone agrees that death is necessary for meaning. Transhumanists argue that immortality would allow infinite exploration. If boredom sets in, they claim, it is only because our imagination is limited. With infinite life, perhaps infinite creativity could unfold. Others suggest that meaning is self-created, regardless of death. If life had no end, we could still choose to make moments meaningful. Death may intensify meaning, but it is not its sole source. Still, the danger remains. If life never ended, meaning could slip through our fingers like water. Think of your own life. Imagine if you could never die. Would you live differently? Would you waste more time, or less? Now think of someone you loved and lost. Would that love have burned as brightly if you believed it would never end? Isn't part of its intensity born from its fragility? Perhaps the beauty of life lies in its transience, the way cherry blossoms bloom briefly and fall, reminding us that perfection is not eternal, it is fleeting. So, does life have meaning without death? Maybe not. Death is not the opposite of life, it is a part of it. It is the frame that gives shape to the painting, the silence that makes music possible, the night that gives contrast to the day. As the Stoics taught, do not fear death, fear never having lived. So the real question is not whether death gives life meaning, but whether we are living in a way that honors the fact that it will one day end. So now I ask you, if you had all the time in the universe, what would you do differently? And more importantly, why wait? Because whether or not life has meaning without death, one thing is certain, life with death is happening right now.